Hello sisters, and welcome to the first artwork related tutorial I've ever done in my life. This one will be doing hair. And just so you know, I will be only covering hair texturing or any basic shading techniques that are changed. And this video is also coming from someone who has an art style that is more anime based, so proportions and specific things may be different than that of a real life person's. Side note, I'm sorry if you hear any background sounds or air noise. I'm currently recording this audio on my phone. Hair is something different and it has a specific texture and appearance than other elements. First off, we'll be taking a look at a few of these how to draw anime drawing books. First up, we have The Master Guide to Drawing Anime Girls. But just so you know, on this part here, I'm speaking for what I've seen most people do when it comes to drawing hair first. Skipping to pages 19 through 22, you can see in this drawing right here that they have a very basic understanding for what the hair shape is, how long it is, style, and how clean it looks. Then they draw the hair using the base they've created. Now on to how I do hair. I will usually draw out one chunk of hair at a time, as seen in the speed paint I'm showing you guys. After I draw out the hair piece, I typically go back and add more wefts of hair and texturing. I start with the hair in the front and work my way to the hair in the very back. After I have this down, I move to the line art. You can use whatever for the line art. I typically use a line tool for a cleaner finish. Then I have the color of the hair and we're ready to start the shading and texturing. I use the method of shading where I layer down 3 colors of shading, all getting progressively darker and more saturated. I will always blend these colors out for things like skin and clothing, but not hair. You see, I'm doing my very best to keep it neat and not scribble it on like I'm used to doing. Also, the opacity set is at 50% for the general shading layer. Next, after I do the rest of my general shading here, we do the shine part. As you can see here, I draw each part between the lines and draw them as H's. And I go back in with the smear tool and blend it out to make the texture match each other's. And then I blend it out using a blur tool on a small pen size setting. If you're drawing very long hair, it's okay to add more than one shine effect going across the hair. Skipping forward more, we get to the most time-consuming and most tedious part ever out of everything I've explained here. The actual texturing. What I do is I take the darkest shading color from the shading palette I have over in the top corner, fill the hair with that, and then I go in with the line tool I use for the line art. Select the transparent option I have below the 2 selected colors. I use Clip Studio Paint, and if you use it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't have that or can't select the transparent option, I would suggest using an eraser. I make informed strips of this going down the hair. Also keep in mind it is important to follow the flow of the hair when doing this. It'll make the effect look more natural. Here it's a little small, so I will just show you a quick example here. We're going to pretend this chunk of color right here is a piece of hair. Then once you are finally finished with that, select outside the pockets and erase the outside selection. And duplicate the layer once and select either one of them and use a Gaussian blur. Now don't make it so it looks too blurred out. We have to have some distinguishable features to make it look like that we want. For the second texture layer, I also use a Gaussian blur, but depending on how blurred out the other texture layer is, I change it. If I blurred the first one as much as I could, I would use a lower setting. If I barely blurred it at all or used a medium setting in between no blurring and very blurred, I would amp it up a bit. Then I merge the texture layers together, having set them both to 25% opacity before merging. And there you have it, hair texturing. I hope this video was helpful, for some at least. I'll see you all in my next video. Goodbye, sis.